Hello, and a joyous welcome to This Woman's Work, a space where you can hear and read about some amazing women, the fantastic jobs they do, and the paths that have led them to where they are today. I'm here today with Steph. Hi, Steph.
Hello.
Could you tell the lovely listener what it is you do for a living?
So I am an equine vet, so I work treating horses, but I am also slightly unique because I work for the University of Nottingham. So my role is split 50% teaching and 50% treating horses.
So you teach?
Yes.
Wannabe vets?
Yes, absolutely. So I work for the University of Nottingham, but their model of veterinary teaching is that they have, rather than having one specific hospital where the students just see kind of very high level veterinary care, we have what we call clinical associate practices. So there's lots of different everyday vets where we basically embed staff members. So I'm one of those embedded staff members. So although I work at a veterinary hospital, I work for the university there. So my role, in addition to treating horses, is making sure that the vet students learn as well.
Oh my gosh, right, okay, loads of questions about that. But this is where I have to stop, and we track all the way back to little Steph.
Yeah.
Little Steph, and we say, what were you like as a child, school, college? Talk us through what were you like? I'm going to obviously say always into animals.
Yes, absolutely, always into animals. I mean, the first story. So, my family is. I mean, they don't mind animals, but they're not.
I was going to say, so no one's a vet.
No, there's no kind of animal association in my history at all. But I have always loved animals from a very young age, to the point where I was very determined when I was fairly young to get a dog, and I used to write mum and dad letters and sob stories and leave them like pinned to doors of why I should have a dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this started, mum said, when I was about 9 years old, and then eventually when I was 13 we did get a dog, and through that I then started seeing what vets do. And
so I was going to say, it's one of those jobs, isn't it? One of those careers that often do go into schools, don't they? I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, my daughter definitely wanted to be a vet at one point. Most of her friends wanted to be a vet. I don't know if it's more of a girl thing than a boy thing.
It definitely is a more female-heavy profession.
Is it?
So traditionally, and we're talking probably 40, 50 years ago now, it was very male-dominated, but it's absolutely a switch. So a standard year for us at the moment has about 160 pupils, and probably 20 to 30 of those are boys, the rest are girls.
How interesting.
Yeah. So it's, very female-dominant now.
Gosh, do you know why?
I think there's a few reasons. One reason is that we don't get paid as much as, say, a doctor or a dentist or someone who would do maths and therefore go into business or accounting, that kind of thing. So boys seem to want to get paid more.
Be driven more by money and financially. Yeah,
absolutely. And therefore, they're just not as interested in, because we do as much work and possibly even more kind of qualifications to get to where we need to be, but there's not as much financial gain from that.
That's not a quick college course, is it?
No, it's a 5-year degree. So plus there's a lot of effort to get on that course. They require you to do work experience when you're during school, and lots of other things. So they're very hard courses to get onto.
So at what point then? So obviously, you went through school. Enjoyed school?
Love school. Yeah. Both my parents were
academic?
Teachers. Very academic.
Yeah. Okay.
But both my parents were teachers at the secondary school I was at. I've always been very.
Was that a blessing
keen on
and
school.
A curse?
It was good because everyone liked them.
Okay.
So they were cool teachers. My dad was a bit strict, but everybody liked Mr. and Mrs. Pratt. They were
brilliant. Yeah, great.
So that was fine. And actually was fairly good for the street cred rather than the other way around. But have always been very academic, and they've always pushed me, and my sister was also she's very academic as well. So and Dad is a physics teacher, so and I've definitely always lent more towards the sciences in terms of what I've been good at.
So what does your mum teach then?
Mum teaches German.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I don't seem to have got that linguistic brain at all, English and that kind of thing. I mean, I did do it, but it definitely wasn't one of my strong points. But maths and science was where my skills were definitely better.
Okay, so and then went on to college. Did you do science A-levels?
So yeah, did.
And at this point, you knew you wanted to be a vet?
Yeah, I mean, I had an inkling. Mum would say, I think, from when I was about 8 or 9, that I said that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I think once I started secondary school at 11, that, you know, I was like, right, this is what I want to do.
Particularly if you start going into hardcore sciences.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you have to start doing, like I said, the work experience. So I did that a couple of times, and then, you know, I really do like this, start doing more and more of that, and it just went from there. And I'm fairly committed to something once I decide I want to do it. You know, full stream ahead, really. So, and I haven't really ever looked back.
But if anyone can hear a little kind of, we have two lovely. Hang on, are they boys?
That's the boy. Baloo's a boy. Nala's a girl. So two Steffi and a Steffi cross.
Lovely little doggies here, which I'm trying not to engage with, because then I feel like it's all just going to go.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I get really excited, you'll get really excited.
They will definitely. They love
no
people.
laughing. I'm not
Baloo,
laughing.
darling,
I'm not
enough.
laughing. Down.
Bed.
Go on, down. Then went off to uni. Did you go?
Yeah.
How far away did you go?
So I'm from the Lakes. And went to the University of Nottingham. I haven't gone very far from there.
That's all right.
So yeah, it was a
really good
big
uni,
thing to come down. It is a good
it.
uni. Yeah, absolutely. So went there. Had a brief little. I did have a gap year because Josh, my husband, is Australian. So we went out and spent a year in Australia together. I had my place at university, but I deferred it a year, and we went to Australia, spent a year with his family travelling,
right,
and then came back to go to Nottingham to be a vet.
Fantastic. Okay, what was that like? Because I can imagine that course is not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's
what's the dropout rate of that course?
I don't think it's as high as people will probably think it would be, mostly because they make the
Get down. Come on, because this.
If you just stroke him.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy stroking.
But yeah, it's definitely not as high as it. Sorry. It's definitely not as high as people would think. I think because it's so hard to get onto the course.
Yeah.
That actually that
almost
knocks out a few people. There are definitely some people who either don't make it through because academically they can't cope, or because actually by the time they get to the blood and guts bit they can't deal with that. And we did have a couple of people in my year who dropped out in the first few months because they were like, actually this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and I can't cope. But probably I would say 90% of people do actually make it and pass. Okay. So I think it's a lot higher than you would think it would be. Yeah.
Did uni, finish uni, then what?
So I very briefly. So I had the first thing I got was an internship at Equine Veterinary Hospital, which is where I'm currently working.
So when you say an internship, that was alongside your degree, was it?
No, so that's after a degree.
So you've done your 5 years.
Finish your 5 years, graduate, and then I got a position as an intern, just doing equine, so horse work.
Sorry, we've even skipped past it. Did you know, what point did you know you wanted to more specialise then with horses?
So probably about halfway through, so probably in my 3rd year, I decided that actually equine was what I wanted to do. There were a number of reasons for that. Vets graduate omnicompetent, so we should be able to treat any animal.
Yes. Yeah.
So which the course teaches you very well for, but the problem is that there's, when you come out of that degree, you've got a few options. You either become a vet that specialises in a particular species. So we've there's 3 key routes. So equine, farm, which would be your sheep, your dogs, cows, pigs, that kind of thing, or small animals, which will be dogs and cats.
Yeah, okay.
And I really wanted to just kind of focus more on one species because I like knowing a lot about one thing rather than knowing a little bit of everything.
A specialist in.
Yeah, exactly. So and
this is a really, let's be honest about it, the area that we are, Rutland and Leicestershire, is very
very horsey.
Very horsey.
Yeah, very horsey.
The whole area is very horsey.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the options that allows me to do that. But equally, I've ridden since I was quite young. I've always been around horses and enjoyed horses.
Yeah.
And I like being outside, and you know, I'm definitely was never going to be a farm vet. That's a very different type of vetting because you're treating a herd rather than an animal.
Yes.
Which it's a completely different mindset, and sometimes.
But is that in itself is a specialism? Is it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, it definitely is a
because they're quite mobile, I think, aren't they? So they're on the road a lot, I'm guessing, just going out to different...
And horse vets do that as well.
Oh, yes,
so there's two types of horse vets, really, when you boil it down. So you've got ambulatory horse vets or hospital-based horse vets.
Yeah.
So ambulatory, they're in a car, they're on the road, they'll go to you at your yard.
Yeah.
Hospital, horse comes to you.
Yeah.
And so I have done both. But currently I'm based in a hospital. So that's why I ended up wanting to do horses. So I got my internship at Oakham.
Yeah.
And did that for a year, with the aim that hopefully I would be able to get what we call a residency, which is basically like the way you become a consultant, for example, if we were talking about doctors. Someone who specialises in a particular brand of medicine or surgery.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing now. So I've got 1 year left, but I'm training to be an equine internal medicine specialist. Right. So I will literally just...
So you're not even finished
learning? So I'm still going. I'm still learning. I've got some very big exams next year.
Oh, your gosh.
Doing the internship at Oakham, because it's one of these clinical associate practices, we have a lot of students. So as part of my job there, you know, I had always got kind of a student with me, that a final year student that, you know, follows you around and tries and is learning from you, so that you kind of get exposure to lots of teaching by doing that. Yeah. Which kind of taught me that I actually really enjoy that aspect of teaching. Yeah. Which probably my mum loves to say it comes from her and dad, with them both being teachers. Yeah. When I finished the internship, which was a year long, the uni offered me a position teaching the ambulatory side of things, but at a different hospital. So I worked at Pool House Equine Clinic, which is over in Lichfield.
Okay, gosh, how far away is that?
From where we used to live, it was about an hour, so it was a decent drive, but was worth it for the job. So I did, again, this kind of on-the-job teaching, so I had students with me out on the road, and I would teach them, you know, kind of the basics of being an equine vet, and I did that for 2 years. Wow. And then got the residency and came back to Oakham at that point.
And then you've been there?
Been there, so done 2 years of that, and another year to go, and then I'll sit some big exams. Hopefully I'll pass. And then I'll be an internal medicine specialist, and I'll just stay working for the university, at least for the time being. So my current role is an assistant professor. One of the other things that makes the job so interesting, because whereas, you know, if you're a small animal vet, most dogs and cats are pets, and they just live at home. But actually, with horses, you get this massive range of what people do with them, from them literally being, you know, a big lawnmower that literally live in a field, they just eat grass. People don't do anything else with them other than give them a cuddle and a pat every now and then. To, you know, actually working horses, race horses, you know, so there's a massive range. We've got little tiny Shetland ponies right up to massive Shires. So, you know, there's so much variation in the type of horse, the breed of horse, you know, and therefore the owner that comes along with that horse. It makes it really interesting.
I was going to say, and are you, I mean, you know, I'd say you're a good people person, but do you like people?
I used to say, and I now laugh at people who do say this because I do quite a lot of interviews for people getting into the vet school as part of my role. And I definitely said this when I was at their stage as well, that actually I was choosing to do veterinary because I don't like people, therefore I don't want to do medicine because I'd rather not deal with people. And it just makes me laugh because actually the majority of my job is dealing with clients. You know, we do look at the horses and we treat the horses and we do diagnostics on the horses, but actually the majority of my time is spent explaining things to owners or trying to convince them that they should pay this money to do this treatment to fix their horse, or consoling them when they either can't afford it or we can't fix their horse. So it's there's a lot of people involved, and I wouldn't say I'm the best people person in the world, but I've gotten a lot better.
So how much of that do you teach on the course then?
Quite a lot, actually. Nottingham's quite a
almost like scenario role playing.
So we actually pay for actors to come in.
Oh my god,
at various stages.
I reckon I could be a really good disgruntled.
You get given like a scenario and you have to come in and like they'll tell you whether like you have to be grumpy or whether you have to cry or so we get, and then so they do that multiple times during the course, and they even get examined on it. So I examined a practical exam at the end of last year, and it was a case where they had to take a history from an actor, and then we gave them the kind of what had happened, and then they had to explain what had happened to the owner.
Did they come in with a dummy horse? Because I'd love that, like almost like a pantomime.
we had a big plastic horse. We had a big plastic horse. We had a big plastic horse. We had
two people as a pantomime. So it's actually 3 actors.
But so we try really hard and go through all the kind of we have a whole session on breaking bad news, and a whole session on how to deal with talking to owners about money, because one of the massive problems we have in the UK is because the NHS is funded, and we don't understand how much medical treatments cost. No. And we are much cheaper than kind of and doctors would be if we knew how much they are, but people still think it's obviously a lot of money, and it is. But so you've got to try and get people on side with, you do have to spend X thousand, but at the end of that, hopefully your horse will be fixed.
The worst part of it then is obviously, I guess, dealing with owners, giving them bad news, but also I'm guessing obviously how does that rate to actually sort of often quite tragic animal situations. I mean, God, even saying that, and it's just breaking my heart even thinking about it.
I think most people would think that actually probably the worst part of our job is putting animals to sleep, which obviously we have to do as part of our jobs. But actually, that's often something that you're, I wouldn't say happy to do, but it's the right thing to do. And actually, I think that we're quite lucky that we can do that with animals, whereas we can't with humans. But actually, then in those cases, putting those animals to sleep often is a kindness. But the thing I think I really struggle with most, and probably I would say is the worst part of my job, is when we have to put an animal down because those owners don't have the money to do something that we can do, or they don't want to do it. So say I know we can fix this horse if we did X, Y, and Z, but X, Y, and Z is going to cost £10,000, and the owner's like, I can't afford that. Well, I can't leave this horse to suffer. We're going to have to say we're going to have to stop, and that's really difficult.
I know you have a little life in you yet. I know you have a lot of strength left. I know you have a little life in you yet.
And the best part is when you fix something.
I was going to say.
And particularly with what I do now, so I just do medicine, which I love. So I don't very, very rarely pick up a scalpel blade anymore. It's a lot about treating those intensive care patients that often come into you really, really sick. And they can either go, one of either way. They either don't get better, or amazingly, you can hopefully work out what's wrong with them. And even if you don't do kind of treatments to try and fix them, and that point where they go home and their owners are really grateful, they bring you thank you cards.
Got the family that are really happy. It's What do you think it is? So, I guess your skill set that makes you good at this, or that's a trick. Often women terrible at answer. They go, oh well, I don't know. But you've got to be confident and answer this question.
Okay. Being confident and answering. I think one thing, you have to have a love for animals, 100%.
That's going to go right at the top of the page.
Yeah, that's got to be at the top. You have to be not necessarily good at academic stuff, but you have to be interested in science and how things work.
Yeah.
Grades have come down from where they were, so you definitely don't have to have the kind of full A's, A stars anymore. There are places that take you with A's and B's.
Because we now have Google?
Well,
so vets can just Google stuff
and
as
also
well.
I think we're realising that not necessarily a straight A-star student has all the qualities that it requires to be a good vet, like the people communication and that kind of. There are a lot of other aspects and facets to the people that make good vets than just being very clever. So yeah, I think, but you do still have to want to.
So have you seen that shift in your time, or had you think it more happened before you got
I think it's happened even since I've graduated and been teaching, that, we are getting more students through who not necessarily, they have to work really hard to get the academic side on board, but once they get that, actually they make amazing vets because they're good with people, they care, they're, and the logistical thinking actually is often much better.
Because really intelligent people often don't have a lot of common sense, do they?
No, not at all.
Just meant to anything that's reading. But it often goes with the territory. They're so bright that they can't kind of...
Yeah, and often people who do that and then go, they end up working in research or in things like that where they don't tend to have as much, as I would say from my experience, hands-on with other people.
What personal challenges do you have that I guess make this tough for you? I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking things like, sounds weird to say, but almost caring too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, or do you learn almost how to balance that more as you're going through it?
I think I cope very well with detaching myself from it, and I definitely have colleagues that struggle with that.
Right.
I'm quite good at, I'll do as much as I can when I'm at work, but then, and obviously there is someone who looks after those horses that are in the hospital all the time, but I hand over to them at 5 o'clock, whatever time we finish, and then I'll come home, and I'm pretty good at switching off and not worrying about it till the next morning. But I definitely know I have got colleagues who will worry all night about how that horse is doing. We've got cameras we can watch the horses with, and I could go on the cameras now and have a look at what the horse in stable 1 is doing if I was concerned, that kind of thing. So, but I'm quite good at switching off. But yeah, definitely have colleagues that really struggle with that, particularly at the level I'm at. So I'm 5 years graduated now. So between, I think the data is between about 3 and 5 years graduated, we have a huge amount of people leave the profession. Now, the multiple reasons for that, I think. Number one is working too much. So most people would do quite a lot of out of hours. So work life balance is often a challenge. We don't get paid, like I've said, as much as other people in kind of correlating professions. And I think people do struggle with that. So I think it's a combination of those things, and then also the difficulties in coping with some of the stresses of being a vet. So putting animals down, dealing with financial things with owners. We did the last time I checked, have the highest suicide rate of any profession. Because of that. So there is, mental health in our profession is a huge thing at the moment.
So it's also you're dealing with really poorly animals, and I think, like you said, having to put them down. And then the people.
Absolutely.
Side of it. Which can be sad or just.
And then
really
your emotional
grief
as well then about those cases.
All on top of working long hours.
And potentially not having very much sleep. Being quite lonely because you can't go and see your friends when, if you're on call on a weekend and they're not.
And is this then because there's not enough vets in the UK, I don't know about the world, but there's, because obviously let's just say you got paid what you did, but you didn't have to work so many hours.
Absolutely, and that's definitely what the small animal kind of branch of veterinary is going towards. Most people now would offer a 4-day working week with very minimal out of hours, if any. That they kind of like, there are out of hours companies now that they kind of outsource
almost
their
like sort of agency type.
Exactly. So they are tryings, and I think you're right. I think less working hours for the same money, or if people keep working as they do, paying more, but that still doesn't necessarily improve people's mental health.
No.
So I think it is very much about improving that, and I've been to a couple of conferences this year for kind of further learning and to present stuff, and one of them where I was at in September, the main focus of it was mental health. That was kind of the key theme of the whole conference at the, it's our British Equine Veterinary conference, so the whole of the UK. That was our big conference. So and mental health was the key thing there.
And were people quite candid?
Absolutely. I think people are very aware of it now. We're just not sure how to fix it yet. I think it's people are much more aware of it, and equally much more aware of things like mums coming back from having kids and that kind of thing, and being more accommodating, because we are becoming becoming a more female dominant profession. So things like that historically people didn't worry about too much are starting to become more of an issue. So
are most practices pretty good, or hospitals pretty good at flexi working?
Well, not really, to be honest.
There's not enough people.
There's not enough people, and also how do you do flexible working when, because the main problem I have in terms of, like I've said to you, I should be free by 6 p.m. tonight, but I might not be, because although my finish time is 5 p.m, if I get an emergency coming at 5 to 5, I could be there till 9 p.m. tonight. Working that up if I need to be.
But
so
if you've got to get home to the kids, what do you do?
Exactly. How do you cope with that? So and there are places where they definitely try and deal with that, but there are lots of people who can quite often get stuck in that situation, and it's not uncommon for an ambulatory vet to turn up at the hospital with their child in the seat next to them, because obviously, like, what else are they going to do with them if they haven't got someone else to look after them? So
I guess almost like mums are a dropout as well, are you? Being mums that they might try and come back and then just can't, and then
struggle,
have to leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, that is such a shame, because they're this amazing workforce, aren't they, that are then dropping out.
Yeah, absolutely. But flexible working and improving mental health, they are things that people are definitely now aware of, but I don't think we've got the answers yet, and we definitely haven't fixed the kind of crisis of people leaving the profession. So
what's next? You've got to talk a little bit about, obviously you've got some big exams and stuff coming up.
Big exams next year.
What's your 5-year plan, Steph?
I mean, I definitely want to have kids within the next few years, hopefully.
And not leave the profession
definitely not leave the profession. We've already discussed that Josh is, if need be, going to be the stay-at-home dad, and I'm going to go back to work. And that's because I love my job. And he doesn't love his job quite so much. So, that's fine. But from an academic and career perspective, I mean, I'll hopefully pass these exams and I'll become a specialist. And then kind of just develop myself and work, get more experience, get better.
Carry on teaching?
Absolutely, carry on teaching,
And from that you can then go on to be, rather than an actual professor, rather than associate professor? Yeah,
so there's different levels so that you can go up, but working up to the top would be a professor. So that definitely is one route. I mean, the other thing that we've discussed is, obviously Josh is Australian. Do we go back to Australia and go and work out there?
So you'd get a visa every day of the week.
Well, because obviously we're married, so I would be able to go across. Absolutely. They want vets. Definitely. So I would without Josh be able to get over there sponsored.
Without Josh.
Don't need him.
Anyway, Josh. My 2 final questions then, and I can let your doggies get back to life. What advice would you give your younger self?
I think stress less.
do better at German.
Yeah. Mum would say that. I mean, I've forgotten almost all my German.
Like,
should
put
be
more effort
should be
into
outraged.
languages.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I probably should, because it would be very good to have a. I do wish I had a second language.
You could be a global jet setting.
Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, I think stress less, and actually goes along the lines of the surgeon you speak of. I am definitely a perfectionist, and I stressed a lot about having very high grades and being the best, and never failing when I was younger and in school, and even going through uni actually. But actually, you know, that isn't everything.
I know.
And there's a lot more to life than that. And I think you can get so caught up in the pressure. And it's always been the pressure I've put on myself. My parents were never pushy or anything like that. But I lumped a lot of pressure on myself.
Then the final question then is, what life advice would you give anyone now, as you now, knowing everything that you know now?
I think if you know you want to do something, stick at it and you will get there. And I mean, I've always wanted to do what I am doing now, and I'm now there, very nearly at the point where once I've done these exams, I'll be where I wanted to be, since I was decided when I was about 19 that this is what I wanted to do.
It must be incredibly rare. Like, from you 8 to that, most people are not doing the thing. No. That they wanted to do when they were 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. So, and I think you will get there if that's what you really want to do. And you know, life always throws curveballs in the way in different bits and pieces. But I think if you want to do something, you've just got to stick at it. And I remember on my course, and even with the kind of the year group classes that are coming through now, there's always a couple of older people. I mean, we had someone on my course that was 45. She'd been a veterinary nurse for X number of years, can't remember how long, but she said, no, I want to be, I've always wanted to be a vet. She just didn't get the grades, so she did veterinary nursing extensive. Life got in the way. She had kids. She was like, no, I'm going to go back. And she literally went back to university at 45 and is now a vet and loves it. So, you know, I think if, I mean, obviously if veterinary, but if something else is what you want to do, I think you will get there. You will get there, but you just need to keep going.
Yeah, because it's
but don't put too much pressure on yourself while you're doing it.
But just yeah. So thank you very much, Steph.
No, you're very welcome.
If you would like to hear more about this chat, see some pics and read about how to get started in this industry and or this role, then please go to our website www.thiswomanswork.org. The link is on this podcast page and across our socials. Sincere thanks.